DH Deck Building. I'm your host, Demo, and this is the top 5 Red Boardwipes in Commander. Again, this is continuing on with my series of removal, and I'm sort of doing different categories: Boardwipes, creature removal, artifact and enchantment removal, and also I'm doing it by color because, as we all know, color identity is very important in Commander. So if you're playing red and maybe not some other colors, you're not playing black or white. Essentially, black, white, and red are the colors that have Boardwipes, at least enough that you can make a list with. So if you're not playing black or white, then what are your options? And maybe these are even better options than some of the ones in black and white. Depends on the individual. First up, number 5, Volcanic Vision. So it's 7 mana, which is a lot. The reason I put Volcanic Vision on the list, and there's a couple I put on the list that have sort of unique properties. You know, just putting stuff that kills creatures and nothing else. I thought I want to put something on the list, a few things on the list that have more unique properties to them in case you want to do more than just kill the creatures, right? So Volcanic Vision, it's a card that, again, maybe was played a lot more, when I first started playing Commander, and doesn't see nearly as much play anymore. You're going to return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Then Volcanic Vision deals damage equal to the card's converted mana cost to each creature your opponents control. Okay, so there's two important things here. Yes, this is a board wipe. It's conditional, which isn't great. So basically, if you don't have any really expensive instants or sorceries in your graveyard, it can be not great, right? However, it is, first of all, returning an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Returning stuff from graveyard to hand in mono red is very rare, so that can be really good. Also, it is only your opponent's creatures. This is the important part. There isn't a ton of board wipes that hit only your opponent's creatures, and this is one of them. 7 is a lot of mana. However, I just think the fact that you're getting two big advantages here. You're getting something back to your hand from your graveyard, and also you're not hitting your creatures. I think it's worth a mention. Next up, number 4, Chandras Ignition. And again, this is another one that is sort of conditional, right? It basically, if you don't have a creature in play, it does nothing. But because it has such unique properties, I like to give it a mention. The important thing here about this card, there's two important things. Actually, there's a lot of important things. First of all, okay, so target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. So first of all, you're going to save a creature, right? So if there's a creature on your board, like your commander, that you don't want to take damage from this is a board wipe that basically is not going to hit one of your creatures. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it deals damage to your opponents as well, which can be really, really important, right? I've seen people, and I know there's people out there that just end games with this card. The other really important thing here is that it deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. And so it's the creature that is dealing the damage. And I talked about this a lot with my Jund Infect deck, and this is the one card I put in there, right? Because you can use this on an infect creature, and that creature is dealing the damage. Therefore, you're giving your opponents infect, right? You're giving your opponents poison counters with this. You can give them 5, 6, 7. If you have a creature with a 10 power that has infect, you can kill all of your opponents with this. If you have a creature with death touch, right? So now I have maybe a 1/1 creature with death touch. I use this. It kills all the other creatures because it's that creature dealing the damage. So I can just kill everything. Lifelink is another interesting one, right? I think I talked about the Bruce, Tarl, and Tymna deck that I used to have. And that was all about, having creatures with lifelink and stuff. And so if you have a creature that has lifelink and you use this, again, that's the creature dealing the damage, so you're going to get a ton of life off of it. So there's just so many different ways to use this card. It is a good board wipe also, but I like to put it on the list just because there's so many things you can do with it. Coming in at number 3, Starstorm. Also, I was going to put Magma Quake on the list. That's one that I like a lot. They're basically really similar, so I didn't want to put both of them on the list individually. I sort of am grouping them together. There are other cards that also do similar effects. Fault Line is another one that comes to mind. Starstorm is the one that you see a lot. It's the one that gets printed in Commander sets for that reason, right? The only thing about Magma Quake is it hits Planeswalkers, which I really like. You know, you can actually kill planeswalkers with it too. The important thing here, though, is they're both at instant speed, right? What makes cards like these really, really effective, and I said it a lot on this channel, especially recently, casting things at instant speed can be super, super good. Being able to react to what your opponents are doing, right? So your opponent casts an Avenger of Zendikar, puts 12 plant tokens into play. He plays a land, right? So say he's got a whole bunch, he's getting ready to just do a whole bunch of landfall triggers to pump up those tokens. The first land he plays is going to put a trigger on the stack from the Avenger of Zendikar, and then you immediately can respond to it with a Starstorm for 1, right? So Starstorm for 1, 3 mana, you're doing 1 damage to every creature, and it's going to kill all those plant tokens before they get a counter on them. So being able to react to stuff like that is always really important, and that's why, you know, Starstorm and cards like it are number 3 on this list. Coming in at number 2, Chain Reaction. You know, I mean, the top 2 on this list are going to be probably a surprise to no one. I mean, you got to give them their due because they are obviously very effective and are very popular in the format. Chain Reaction is a bit, though, there's a lot of times for me when I'm sitting with a chain reaction in my hand and going and counting, I keep counting the creatures, counting, because there's like a, you know, a Vorinclex in play and I want to kill that. And I have the chain reaction. So I'm waiting for someone to play their 6th creature, or I have to sacrifice a creature. I have to play a creature just so I can get it up to 6 so I can kill that Vorinclex. So it can be really conditional. Usually it's not an issue. Like typically with board wipes, right? You're going to wait until there's lots of creatures, right? You want to get the value out of the board wipe. I don't want to cast a board wipe just to kill 1 creature. You know, people do that sometimes. You know, I see a lot of people who they'll cast their commander and then the next guy just really doesn't like that commander. So he'll cast a board wipe to kill 1 creature or sometimes 2 creatures. You know, if you really need to, if you really want to get a Vorinclex off the board or something, sure. Sometimes you can do that. For me, I sort of have a rule of 4. For me, I like to have at least 4 creatures. My opponent's creatures, I want to have for them to have at least 4 in order to really get value out of my board wipes. You know, obviously there are situations where you don't want to do that, where you want to make an exception. But for me, 4 creatures at least, I really like to get as much value as I can out of my board wipes. So that's why Chain Reaction works, because you're probably going to wait till there's 4, 5, 6 creatures on the board before you cast it anyway. So that's why it's number 2. And of course, number 1 is Blasphemous Act. You know, this is on my short list for one of the best board wipes in the game. I will usually cast a Blasphemous Act for 1 red mana. Usually I'm paying the 1 red and that is all. You know, it's not that difficult for there to be 8 creatures on the board in a commander game. You know, obviously including your creatures as well. 13 damage gets typically everything. Also because it is damage, it combos with a lot of stuff. I talked about Stormwild Caprador in my Goat Tribal deck and how I can cast the Blasphemous Act and wipe everyone else's board, and now I have a giant flying creature like a 14-16. Obviously, Jared Carthelian decks, it's fantastic in those decks for the same reason. Any kind of stuffy doll deck where you want to be dealing damage to your own creatures. There's just a lot of great ways to use the card other than just wiping the board. So it's number 1 by a mile. Probably top 3, I would say, board wipes in the entire format. You know, obviously not a surprise to too many people that is number 1 on this list. So that is it for today. That is my top 5 red board wipes for Commander. Thanks for tuning in.